um, so 10 years. 10 years of a journey. Actually, it's been longer, but there's too much to add to the story, so I'm just only gonna focus on 10 years ago. Um, 10 years ago, I remember it was January of 2015. I met with one of the founders of my organization, Trans Community Project, and and so what we did was we spent an evening, a couple hours during one evening, just going through these guidelines that Transgender Law Center put together when it comes to filing to legally change your name and your gender marker for your legal documents and stuff. So we just went through the whole packet and stuff. We looked at all the examples, see how it should look and what was needed, and as well as we printed out the paperwork for filing here in Riverside County. Um, so we went went through all that. We looked at everything. Then we start to fill out, the forms. And so, like, I filled out the form. I put my original name on it, and then the name that I wanted um, to be legally be and stuff. And then we also filled out the other things like like the fee waiver, because at that time I was not working or anything, and so there's like a waiver that I could fill out saying that, like, I have no money coming in or anything, so it could be totally taken care of, filed for free and stuff. So we did that, and so um, after that, then that night it was all nicely, like, filled out and stuff. Um, so I had this paperwork with me, and I kept it with me for about 2 months. And I it wasn't that I kept it for 2 months because I was being unsure about everything. I was totally sure that I was gonna file this. Um, I think the thing I was mainly thinking about was the naming part of everything, because, like, I knew that my name was gonna be Paulina Angel, because I knew I want to stick with the root name Paul, because, like, I was named after Paul McCartney of the Beatles, and I wanted to continue having Paul in my name. And but I went with Paulina because I really want something that was Hispanic based, and I love Paulina Rubio. She was one of my favorite performers. That's at the time, in a way, she still is. And I love her music. I love her. I wanted to look like her and stuff like that. If you've seen a picture of Paulina Rubio, especially around that time, you'll be like, oh yeah, I want to look like her too. So so I knew that, but I think I was like trying to figure out what would be my middle name, and I always knew that I wanted Ashley to be my middle name. I always loved the name Ashley ever since I was 5 years old. Every time I think about that name, I think about, like, the California ocean. I think about sunshine and everything. It's such a positive name. I love the name Ashley. Um, but I remember that hearing that, like, well, in England, every people in England tend to have, like, about 4 or 5 names or 6 names, stuff like that. And I remember looking at, the a booklet from the band The Zombies, and it seems like some of those guys had like about 5 or 6 names to their name. It's like, oh, I want that for me. So I decided to go for a fourth name to add, to make it 4 names. And so I end up at the end of February, I end up coming up with Paulina Ashley California Angel. And I picked California because, hey, I love my state. I love my my home state. I love everything about California. It's totally me. I am a California girl. Um, and also, one of my favorite baseball teams growing up was the California Angels. So it really made sense to have California and Angel right next to each other and stuff. So at the end of February, I had it all figured out what I wanted my my full name to be. So at the end of February, I went to my local courthouse here in Indio to file my thing. But then I found out that hey, the the courthouse here, we do not do civil cases. We do like the big ones, like murders and stuff like that, and all the heinous stuff. If you want stuff like the little things like ch- changing your name and stuff like that, you have to go to Palm Springs. And Indio and Palm Springs is really like far away, even though it's close. It's kind of far away. So it was a thing where I had to find a day where I was going to be in Palm Springs and to file the paperwork. So I was able to do that during the first week of March. So I turned in all the paperwork. I had all the paperwork from my doctor as well as my therapist saying that, she is going through gender affirming care and stuff. She is going through the process. So we decree that, her name and gender marker should be changed, and everything. So I turned it in and everything, and so they said, okay, well, your summons is May 15, 2015. So come back then. Your thing's at 9 a.m. in the morning. So come here and and that's when you'll meet with the judge, and get all this done. I was like, great. So I was like waiting patiently, like, March went through, April went through. Then now came May and stuff, and I was like, oh my God, we're now in May, and in about 15 days, everything's gonna be legal, I just need to show up. So March 14th came around, I mean, May 14th came around, and one of my dear friends, his name is George Zander, sadly he's no longer with us. Um, uh, I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "Well, I'll take you to the courthouse. Um, I just need you to help volunteer for something." I was like, "Okay, I'll help you out." So he worked for Equality California, and so he was setting up. I think the 14th was a Thursday because that's when the Palm Springs Village Fest was happening, and he was setting up there, registering voters. So I helped him out with that, and then the 15th was a Friday. Um, so I went up and I helped him out and everything. It was raining. I remember that day. It was like overcast and then it was raining a lot, and so we had like some really nice rain around that time, and then it continued straight into like the next day, the morning and stuff. And so I was looking outside. I was like, "Holy shit!" How? And he said he's like, "Are you ready?" I said, "Yeah." So he ended up driving me to the Palm Springs court. I stayed with him. He had him and his husband Chris. They had like a place out there in Palm Springs, and they had like a guest room in the back of their house. So I stayed in there, the guest room, and there's a pool there too. So I got to swim. And so the morning came, and I arrived at 9 o'clock. There's some other people that was there for doing other things, and there's like another trans person there too, that was also gonna get their name and gender marker also changed. So, and we knew each other, so we're like, "Hey, you're here for this?" It's like, "Yeah," like you too. It's like, "Yeah, it's that." So it was great. We went in and stuff, and then at 9:20, the judge called me up, and it was a funny thing because I think once the judge called me up, I went from being nervous to being kind of comical because I'm the kind of person that laughs when shit is getting serious. Because that's the way I handle things. I handle things with humor. And so the judge came in and I mean called me up, and then he was looking at the paperwork and he's like, "Okay, I'm looking at your paperwork, and I see you also have your letter from your doctor and your letter from your therapist and stuff like that, and everything's copacetic, and so so you're doing this, you're really doing this." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, I'm looking forward to it, and I was laughing throughout the whole time. And he was like, "Why are you laughing?" I was like, that's how I deal with with serious stuff. I have to laugh. Life is a laugh. Life is comical. You have to have a sense of humor about life. And he's like, yeah, I agree with you. So it's like, okay, so I see here are your names that you want. So you want Paulina to be your first name. I was like, yeah. And it was like, Ashley is your first middle name. I was like, yeah. It was like, California is your other middle name. Yeah. And you want Angel to be your last name. I was like, yeah. Everything's about yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'm a Beatles person. So I'm all about yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not yes, yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those American idioms that the Beatles love. And so it's like, okay, great. And then you're changing your thing to female. I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm changing my thing to female. It was okay, great. And so he looked at it and said, okay, everything is all nice, perfect. I at now it's 9:28, and I hereby, by the powers invested in me by the state of California, I now shall decree that you are from the state forest, female, and that your name is Paulina Ashley California Angel. This is being done on May 15, 2015. So congratulations, Paulina. You know, now you can be called Paulina. Now you can go out and you get your certificate done. You can get your Social Security. Just take this paperwork and go to the clerk. And they'll send you all the information, stuff like that. And here it is. So thank you so much and congratulations. I was like, thank you so much, and I was like, it's like, it's gonna be a great day. So I did that. After that, I met with the clerk. She gave me all the paperwork and saying that the judge signed off on it and stuff. And then I walked outside, and my friend George was right there waiting for me to give me a big hug and to welcome me into the world finally as Paulina Ashley, California Angel, legally female, and stuff. And it was great. It was such a great day to an experience to have, and so it was a beautiful moment. It was such a beautiful day. I love that it was raining. I love the rain, so it was a nice rainy morning on a Friday, and getting all this done and stuff. And um so it was great. And then from there forward, I was like, yes, I now have like this new name. It felt like a new toy. It felt like like having like a new toy. I was like, oh my god, I'm Paulina Angel, and I'm female, and so that was 10 years ago. 10 years ago from today, I legally became Paulina Ashley California Angel, and female. So so I can't believe it's been 10 years. It's gone by so fast. Um, which is kind of cool and in a way kind of sad because um, the person that took me to the thing, George, we lost him that year. He died from complications from an injury that he got from when him and his husband were attacked in Palm Springs. And so I know that when I think about what I went through 10 years ago with this thing, um, I think of him as the person that went out of his way to take me to the court to get it all done and stuff. Um, so every time I think about today, I think about him. I miss him a lot. He was a great mentor, a great guy. A lot of us in the community miss him every day and stuff. But yeah, so 10 years has gone by, and now we're here in 2025. And in about a month or so, I am going to have the ending of my journey, lifelong journey, which is going to be my gender affirming surgery. I'm having the bottom surgery. Um, and I'm looking forward to that. It's going to bring a close to a very long story in my life. It's going to basically be the end of a book, for me. And then once I have my surgery, it's going to be the beginning of a new book in my life where I could finally start experiencing new things that I haven't experienced before, like love, and other kind of things. I wanted to expand my life more and, do more dashing and daring things with my life after my surgery. And so, but I could use your help too. I could use everybody's help, because I am fundraising right now for my surgery. I'm fundraising for my electrolysis um, stuff. And so um, if you want to donate to help me out, you can always go to my Venmo. My Venmo username is Ash at Paulina Angel 1. It looks like this. I'll show you. Um, and I'll show you the QR code as well. So let me adjust the light right here. But it also will be, I hate that there's a glare, but that's my Venmo username right there and everything. If you want to donate or anything, for everybody that's going to watch this video on Facebook and Instagram, I'll also will have that posted as well and stuff. And for everybody that's on YouTube, I'll also will make a post on my community page of this too, if you want to help me out in any way, um, so I can't believe that I'm now entering this last part of my journey. Been a journey that I've been going through all my life. I came out in, I want to say it was like 2005 I came out. Oh my God, it's been 20 years since I came out as trans. So yeah, it probably wasn't it might have been in May. I don't know. I think I may have came out during my birthday or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what day exactly. I know it was like around this time. No, it actually was around this time because I remember that I was outed to my father, that I am trans, stuff like that. And he was livid about it, So I remember it was like around this time of the year that I did formally come out to everybody and stuff. Um, so yeah, it's been like a 20-year journey since coming out, and then it's been now that I'm finally entering the last part of my journey, So thanks so much for everybody that has been there for me from the beginning, people that have been there since, and people that's barely coming on. Everybody's support and love really means a lot to me. I didn't think that I would live to see this moment in my life. There have been like a lot of things that have happened that could have ended me earlier, but for some divine reason I'm still here and stuff. So I'm looking forward to now seeing where my life takes me from here on out after post surgery. Once I have my surgery, I'm looking forward to seeing how life will turn out for me, and finding love, finally able to have the human experience of being intimate with someone and everything, and venturing into doing other things. There's a lot of other things I want to do with my life. Um, so thank you so much for everybody that's tuning in to watch this video. And I love you. And please, if you can, please support my journey. Please donate and stuff. And much love for everybody.